Hey there, good morning, everybody. This is Joe, and this is Felix. He's my guest today on my morning cup of Joe. We're actually going live, but we're also doing this a little different because we're both here in front of the camera. So, as you know, I'm a real estate agent with Coldwell Banker, Realty here in Long Beach. And Felix, I'm going to let you introduce yourself.
Good morning, team. How you doing, guys? Everybody out there. Felix Estrella from Priority Title.
Okay, and so he's a title rep, which myself as a real estate agent, we use title for every real estate transaction. So title is insurance, right?
Correct.
So tell us a little bit, what is title? What's a title rep? What is title itself? What is title insurance?
Yeah. Well, title, as everybody, I'm sure everybody knows, it protects the ownership of the property. It's been here for a long time to protect exactly when you're doing real estate, in this case, a buyer. You want to know what's going on in those deeds, the famous deeds that we all, it's so important to have them. And we need to know exactly what's happening in the deeds. That's why when you have a rep like me around you, and we're always talking to the agents and the escrows, and we're a family all together. We'd like to help you guys opening a prelim report. We call it a preliminary report, or you can also open a property profile first to check it out, what's happening, what's going on in this property.
So what's the difference between a preliminary report and a property report?
The property profile, it's to check it out first.
Check what out?
The taxes, specifically people wants to know taxes. We also send comms, and we also send maps about the property. The description is right there, and it's a good information to have when you're gonna have a listing with your new client.
And then a preliminary title report?
The preliminary report is when you're already thinking that, okay, we're gonna open escrow, this is the time, let's open it, and then you can figure it out, is it a clean title or not? And that's the key, to figure it out, is it clean or not.
So what do you mean by clean?
Exactly. It has to be with no liens. Specifically, you don't want to have any problems with liens. I have seen so many cases about also fraud, which is kind of like, at this point you think it's not going to happen, but trust me, it happens all the time. So basically it's liens, frauds, to check it out, is everything is in order. Also, a big one is very popular, credit cards loans, credit cards debts, happens a lot. And sometimes, believe it or not, the clients forgot. They totally forget that they have these debts, and they're thinking, okay, we're gonna sell the property now, and we're gonna find them. That's part of the title insurance responsibility, to find what's wrong in a deed.
So let's backtrack a little bit. So I'm a real estate agent. I open escrow. One of the first things that we do, or the escrow company does, is they order a preliminary title report. So again, title insurance basically is protecting the buyer, right? Because you're running a report on the seller, right?
Correct.
Not the buyer.
Not the buyer, yeah.
Right, because the seller is the one who owns the property. And so, as like Felix says, we want to make sure that there's no liens, there's no anything holding back the property from being sold. So when he used the terminology clean, he's referring to the idea that we want no issues with the preliminary title report, because if there are some issues, that's not going to allow the property to be sold when it comes to the close of escrow.
Exactly.
Now, I want to talk to you about solar panels, and how does that show up in a preliminary title report, and how does that affect a sale of a property?
Well, these days it's a very common and very famous thing. Everybody wants to know about solar panels. Solar panels, it could affect the property because at the same time you're avoiding to pay a lot of electricity, which people are using it most of the time, and it comes in the title report specified it's gonna be allow you to use it or not. it depends also if the property is a residential or commercial. So that's kind of a big deal that people need to know.
Yeah. So again, I deal mostly with residential homes, and I brought this up because recently I had a listing up in Yucca Valley, and there is solar panels on the property. Now, some of the panels she had bought, or they had bought, and then some of the other panels they had bought, but they didn't buy them. Actually, they got a loan on the panels. So there was a UCC filing.
Correct.
Do you know what that is?
Yeah.
What is that?
So the UCC filing is against, they put you like a stop, and then you need to figure out what's.
But it's not a lien though.
No, it's not a lien.
Right.
But it's still a stop.
So will that?
It's a warning.
So will that? If you don't get, again, from solar panels, if you have a UCC filing, can the property close escrow without?
No.
Okay.
No, you cannot.
So what I found out is the UCC filing is not a lien, but it is a filing because the owner doesn't own the panels. And so in order for the title to clear so that she or the sellers can close, the listing agent and the sellers had to arrange something with the buyer.
Correct.
They either take over the contract,
Correct.
the solar panel contract, or the seller or the buyer pays the contract.
They do have a different,
Right.
like you said, it's a contract. They have to define what's going to be in the contract.
Right. So you have to define how that's going to get taken care of. I know I've been involved in a few of them, and one in Palm Springs, I was representing the buyer, and it just so happened that the seller agreed to pay off the solar panels. So that's one way that you
That's
can.
one way. You have to have an agreement.
Right. The other way is that a buyer who's buying a property that has solar panels, they can just take over the contract.
Correct. They do, and they're going to be in charge of that.
And they're going to be
Now
in
on.
charge of that UCC fine. In other words,
Correct.
they're going to have a debt. Now, the other thing that's also important from a buyer's perspective, because if you're looking at a property that has solar panels and there is a UCC filing, that amount of money that is still owed for the panels is basically another loan. So
You can call it like that.
your mortgage company not only has to qualify you for the price of the home, but they have to qualify you for that added.
You need to call your lender in this case, and they need to figure it out.
Right. But in most cases, again, they have to be able to qualify for that added amount that's debt.
Correct. And that's why it's so important for the agents to have a great relationship with your lender and your title rep, because we all work together. We all need to figure out what's going on.
And so, just a couple more things. So I want to talk about, because again, this happened to me just recently in the escrow that I was involved with in Yucca Valley. So I sold them the property, and the reason why she put it on the market was because her husband died.
Oh.
And so both of them are on title. So what does a seller have to do if someone died and they're still on title?
Well, you need to bring, first of all, contact your agent, and the people in this case, escrow, can change the deed. You can
Okay.
contact them, and then with their certificate, you can immediately request to change the deed to the name of the person in this case if they were married. So she's going to be the person who is in heritage, and she will be part of the deed.
Right. Okay, so remember, a property cannot be sold if it does not clear title. And so at the very end, when you're getting to the close of escrow, title at some point is going to run like a statement of information to make sure there's nothing showing up pending at the end just before you close, maybe 5 days before or something like that.
Correct, exactly.
And so, but if you wanted to, as a real estate agent, if you wanted to make sure that that nothing is going to impede that sale sooner, you could do the statement of information at the beginning.
At the beginning, you can request
It's
it.
probably a better idea to do. You could still do one as you're getting to the end, but it's good to know, again, from a real estate perspective, if there's anything that's going to impede the closing of the escrow, because all that has to be taken care of before we get to the end. You don't want to be dealing with this
Right,
at the end.
nobody wants to. Like I said before, there's when you have title, they voluntary one and the involuntary ones that you can find out. And it's interesting because if you don't have that at the beginning, you will be surprised how many times escrow needs to stop.
Right. And unfortunately, what ends up happening is you're going to have to change the close of escrow. You're going to have to extend the close of escrow. And remember, you're dealing with two parties, a seller and a buyer. So if those two parties independently are planning on the close of escrow date and they've ordered, the movers to come and all that kind of stuff, and then something comes up at the end, everything's going to stop.
Everything's going to stop.
Everything's going to stop. So,
and like I always said, if we don't close escrow, you guys don't get paid and we don't get paid.
Right. Well, that's nice, but that's really not, to me, yes, I want to get paid, but it's more about making sure that we handle the sale of a property well to help our clients.
Correct.
Right. And that's why, the more experience that you have in real estate or in title, that sort of thing, we all have experienced all sorts of scenarios. And so we want to make sure that everything is clear so that the property can get sold. So
exactly.
Is there any way that people can change title? I mean, like, I'm going to use myself as an example.
No.
I'm the only person who owns my house, so I'm the only person on title. But let's say I wanted, if I die, for example, and I don't have a will and I don't have anything of that, how would that affect the sale of my property?
Well, if you don't have a will, somebody in your family is the one who's going to be, in charge of your things.
Okay.
So then you have to contact immediately an agent, an escrow person, title rep, to check immediately who is entitled and then who's going to be the family, the closer, in this case, family, who is going to be in your. See, you don't have a will, you need to figure out who's the person related to you.
What about if I wanted to add someone to title?
Just contact me and then we will do the deal. We just change it. We need to change it. That's not a problem. You can change it.
And if I change title or add someone to title, does that go through the tax assessor to get reassessed or anything?
Correct.
It will?
It will. And every year, remember, every year the tax bill comes in October. So for 1 year, maybe you're not going to see the person in the tax report. But after October, the next year is going to be showing your tax report.
Yeah, but again, I'm asking, will the tax assessor reassess the property if you change?
It will really change, yeah. It will be reassessed.
Okay, so that means that could increase the tax
Correct.
liability for the following year or
Yes.
something like that. So, okay, great. Well, thank you for coming in today,
Thank
Felix.
you, Joe. Thank you. It's always a pleasure to meet you. Thank you
Again,
so
I'm
much.
Joe Mendez with Coldwell Banker Realty, and this is Felix Estrella with Priority Title.
Guys, thank you so much. You can contact us anytime. You can find me in Facebook or anywhere. I'm always trying to be anywhere and anywhere at the same time.
So I will post this video on all of my social media platforms, including YouTube. So if you didn't get a chance to see it today, you can see it on my YouTube channel. Just go to Joe Mendez and you should be able to find me. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye.